to me, my pigs. Like a swine pulpit. Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. On today's video, or this evening's video, we're going to listen to a bunch of whiny pigs. Now we're going to move the pigs to another pasture. As you can see, this is the new pasture that we had them on a month ago, I believe. I have to go back and actually check my dates. But we want to move them off, get them in a new spot, because it's going to be helpful to when we go to separate the boars here in a couple days. And I'm also going to get my trough out of here. I'm curious to see how it held up with all of their rampaging. And we'll move it to another spot. So we'll drive the trough to another spot and see if we can lure them over into the new pasture. So come play in the mud with us. Hello, swine. Mr. Swine. You're noisy. So the first thing I need to do is go all the way up to the workshop and disconnect the electric fence so I can get in here and pull that trough out with my tractor. Wish I had them fancy remotes. Well, the whole point in dragging it through the grass was try to clean up the axles a little bit so I could get the wheels on it. They're a little bit soiled. You can see here my coupler's got a little buildup on it. The trough overall's held up pretty well. They've gotten in here and where the grain's gone down into the cracks there, they've shredded that a little bit. I thought they'd end up packing mud into all those cracks and it would fill in, but I think they're coming back and licking it out too much. And these corners filled in really nice. But they really haven't torn the wood up too badly. In fact, there's hardly any chew spots on it other than that. So I'm going to go ahead and put some sexy wheels on that. I bought some wheelbarrow wheels, pneumatic, for this. I had the non-pneumatics once before, and actually robbed those to put on my wheelbarrow. I have a double-wheeled wheelbarrow that Kelly's been using in the garden a lot. And we use that constantly, and you leave a wheelbarrow out, it goes flat, it's really frustrating. With these, I'm only putting them on the trough to move it from point A to point B, so I can take them off, put them in the workshop, have them right there by the air compressor, so when I go to need them again, I can check to make sure they got air in them. So that was kind of my logic in swapping these out. So see if we can lift this up and put them on there. Oh, that's dirty. Some of that's actually mud. Guess I'll be bathing tonight. You don't bathe every night? Well, a horse poo. It appears that the 14-inch wheelbarrow tire has a wider hub than my 12-inch non-pneumatic. So my axle pin's not long enough, so I'm going to have to go swap out the tires and kind of kill that plan I just suggested. So, power of editing, hang on, I'll be right back. Right, and we're back. Oh, that's so muddy. So can you believe in this tire design, the only flaw that I've found is the stupid hole to put the cotter pin in was packed completely full of mud. Couldn't even begin to get it in there. So had to take some time to ream it out. And I think the lesson learned from this is A, I'm not going to mess with cotter pins. And B, I'm just going to use regular 17 gauge fence wire, fits in there nicely, tie it off. And I'm going to leave it in there when I pull the wheels off. And we'll pull the wheels off, put the wire back in it. That way they can't pack it full of mud so tightly. So alright, so got that out of the way. So have you ever noticed your face only itches when your hands are covered in pig filth? Yeah. You've got poop on your face. Ugh. Come on, somebody made that thing heavy. It's alive. Let's pause for a slight face wash and hand wash. Back in college, getting crap-faced had a totally different meaning. So I've heard. That wasn't me, of course. Fortunately, we have this stream right below the pig pasture. Super clean water. No, it's not. It's not beside the pig pasture or below the pig pasture. And it is clean. Okay, so now the next step of the plan is to drive the trough all the way up there, get it turned around, and see if we can lure the pigs over into this other pasture. Now they've already fed today, so this may be a get the trough in position and do it in the morning, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so halfway up the hill, stopped here at Merida's hangout, and we've got a problem. Houston, we've got a problem. It appears that the 3/4 inch round stock does not make a good axle. So I thought maybe that was my poor welding, but that thing's bent, I believe. So I think my steel's no good. So we're going to offload here. Left a skid mark all the way up the side of the hill. Yep, so that's clearly bent steel there. Never dreamed that the trough would survive my pigs. It would even survive my welding, but it did not survive my driving. So we'll have to, when we get this out of rotation, we'll have to come up with a better axle plan for that. Okay, so what I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to punt and go get cleaned up. And then the pigs are over here. They're in this pasture behind me. So we'll try to get them via, this is tough to do, via this road. I'll try in the morning to lure them this way with feed and see if we can get them down, and maybe we'll just feed them here, let them hang out with Merida for a couple days. The plan is to separate the boars later this week, and then we're going to get, hang on, we'll swing wide around, get everybody, all the ladies, over on the north side pasture. We've got the hillside that's closest to the house. Let me see the house through the trees there. It's closest to the house, and there's a lot of, man, it's really just exploded with growth. A lot of underbrush, a lot of good pasture grass in some areas there. So we're going to get them over on that, let them enjoy that for a bit. Stay tuned. Come on, pig! Come on, pig! Piggy, 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 piggy! Come on, pig! Come on, pig! There you go. Let's go. Let's go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we got everybody across back in the old pasture here, and that's the problem with, that's the one downside of having a really good electric fence. They do not want to cross the line. That last one actually had the bucket over his head leading him, and he still went about 10 feet, and when he came out of the bucket he realized, oh crap, I'm past the line, and he goes running back. But he finally saw all of his brothers and sisters eating, so we're going to obviously just fed him here on the ground to lure him. Tomorrow we'll go back to the trough, which is down there, and I've got a business meeting to go to, but I'm going to, the next scene you'll see is an assessment of how they cleared this new pasture, this new wood area. A little bit more clearing than I wanted, but they really did the underbrush well. Really cleared out a lot of the greenbrier, brambles, those type of things. Bunch of lazy pigs, huh? A boar square off here. Alrighty, so checking on them after this afternoon, after they've been over here for the morning. Looks like they're making themselves at home. They've run Merida out of the barn. She normally, of course, she's over there sleeping in the woods. She likes the cooler breeze, and this is the kind of stuff I think drives her crazy. So they moved okay. I'll show you some things that we've done here. I haven't documented this lately. So I'm here at the farrowing barn, or what was supposed to be the farrowing barn last year. And below the farrowing barn, of course, is our main barn and the workshop. Here's the sawmill. There's a road up here. And this area has always just been really dense, forested area. And something I'd never really messed with clearing. Well, just one morning decided I was just going to get in here and kind of go nuts a little bit. So I took out this beech, which had a huge canopy, and just kind of went around and cut a lot of the smaller stuff. There's a lot of little poplar and a lot of little ironwood trees in here. Got a couple millable pines that will probably drop at some point. There's a nice red maple right here. I may leave him simply because of it'd be a nice tree to tap in the wintertime for maple production if we continue to do some of that. Couple little go on. Couple little poplars here that would be millable. So gonna probably thin a lot of this out, get this clear. I'd like this to be completely open. So it'll dry out. It's really wet down behind my barn. This is south, of course, so the hillside slopes to the north. So that really stays wet. So I think that would help dry it out if I got a lot of that out of there. But just in opening this up, I mean, there's grass. This is never grown grass. And this is already got some vegetation coming in simply because of the amount of canopy we've opened up. Got a dead poplar here. It looks like I need to take out. So let's take a little walk. I came up the hill. They've got the wallowed out as they normally do. But I want to show you where they were and how much they've done clearing the underbrush out of this new pasture that we put them on. Okay, so you can see going out my road here, the thing that just jumps out at me is there's just no leaves. This would all be a carpet of leaves from all the hardwoods. And there's some, but they've just vacuumed them all up. They've churned them in, or they've eaten them. They've just plowed so much under that it's just amazing. So this is one of those struggles of the balance of letting them take it this far, where they expose a lot of this ground that we can get some seed on and get it growing grass. I've seeded a good bit of this, but the issue I still have is the canopy's still kind of closed. But then, of course, in the spring where we have heavy rains, there's a chance that all this could obviously be moved from a heavy downpour. We could have some erosion issues in key spots, like some of these back watersheds, some of these watersheds that don't really run until they get a heavy rain. Things that continue to fascinate me about these pigs, though, is in the amount of time I left them here, you can see a lot of this little underbrush. There's some little beech trees. They've bitten this one off, broken it over. They've debarked this one, so it will probably die out. They broke this one completely off. They just come through and break those off because they're kind of bored. They're looking for the leaves. They enjoy the sap that's running in them this time of year. So it just becomes a little flavor opportunity for them. Sometimes they just ride them down because they're scratching their butts on them. If I left them in here longer, they would actually come back and start to uproot these. So they get their noses underneath the roots and actually pull them out. Now, to me, that would be nice. I'd love to have these things grubbed out, but that's a little too much wear on the hillside. It's really going to promote a lot of erosion at that point if they really churn this up more than they have. I'm going to walk over here and I'll show you the line between where they had access to in the woods and where they didn't, so you can see the difference. So I've got the camera sitting right on the fence line right now. In fact, I'm hoping I don't ground out with that aluminum tripod. But you can look up that line and you can see which side the pigs were on and which side they didn't have access to. So if I spin it around here, you can clearly see that all of this small growth, anything that was 10 inches or lower, is just eradicated. You can see over here there's still a lot of small beech trees. Beech, for some reason, love to take off here. A lot of small beech trees still growing, a lot of ground cover. But here they pretty much wore out. Now it's funny, they didn't get this spot because they didn't want to come between this oak and the electric fence. So there's some poison ivy still growing here. Of course, there's some barbed wire sticking out of that fence too. Looks like they grubbed out this stump. In fact, they've pushed it over on the electric line. See, they made a pretty big hole here because there must have been all kinds of good stuff, grubs, bugs, whatever, and they've made a pretty good hole there. But they've got that stump, that piece laying right on the electric line. So we're obviously going to have to free that without getting shocked. I have to do a little tensioning. So overall, I'm very pleased with what they've done. They've really opened up the ground so we could get some of the seed to take off. Now there's a ton of seed bank in here as well. So if I would pierce more holes in the canopy, then that could take off even faster. But that's, you know, obviously a fallacy on my part, not being able to get in here as much as I want to clear out some of this. The plan with silvopasture, as you know, is to clear out enough of the canopy that sunlight filters in and promotes grass growth. You get these areas of nice thick pasture grass along with these trees. The majority of these trees in here are white oak or red oak. There's some hickory. So they're all pretty much mass producing trees, except every once in a while you'll find something like this poplar or some of these smaller maples and things that they could come out, no big deal, and really get this canopy opened up some more. So we'll explore that more here in the next couple weeks as we once we get our borers separated. That's still the main thing on the list right now. So another thing I was able to do while they were still in here was open up some of the canopy. And again, when you have X amount of time, you're trying to run and gun, you got tons of things to do, but you want to be careful in cutting. Come through and cut beech. Beech have such huge canopies. Like check out this beech tree right here. This little guy right here. He's probably 5 inches in diameter, if that. But you can see these limbs extend all the way out to here, extend toward me, extend that way. So they cast a pretty good shadow right there on the ground. Same with this beech tree here that you can see I cut. It had a huge shadow right in that entire area. So just cutting it and letting it fall over, any leaves that were pig height were stripped off. You can see back here I did another beech tree. I did some more. You can see there's some dead leaves way down there. So I cut down about 6 beech trees. And I know beech produce nuts, and that's the gamble, that's the balance I have to have. But I do have some really nice white oak in here. That's a white oak, this big guy here. There's a couple down there. Still have some poplar that we'll clear out. And there's still beech, of course. A really nice red maple right here. But so it's one of those things where it is a balance. I hate to cut down something that can produce mast, but I got to get this ground opened up. So I'm really anxious to see how much. You can see there's actually already some grass starting to come in right there just from where this way is west. So just where that evening sun is being able to permeate the canopy, and it's already just supercharged the seed bank. I haven't seeded this area yet. So this is the seed bank that's in the ground kicking in big time. So if I come in and clear out some of these others, I have a massive, I know I'm running on here, but I have a massive oak. Let's see, this beech tree's in the way, of course, but you can see the stump or the trunk right there. And that thing is huge. I mean, it goes all the way up. That's its canopy way up there. And the mass that is produced from that one oak tree is phenomenal. I mean, it literally, if I would come in and cut everything out around it, you can see this is really the first branch. it's a logger's dream. It's about 30 feet to the first branch. So it'd make a great sawmill tree. But I'm not going to cut that. I'm going to leave it. And if I got all the canopy out around it, some of the lower growth and sunlight could hit that, then it would start growing branches even lower. And those branches would start producing mast. You ever walk through the woods and feel like you're being watched? It's like they follow me. They know. I must smell of pig feed and cheap whiskey or something. Here they come. Coming up the hill now. My pigs hear my voice and they follow me. Whoa, little guy. You are lucky you're on this side of the fence, or you'll be pig snack. Turn around. Go the other way. So I think I've pointed to this before. Any of you all that are having, that you grimaced a little bit or even complained that I was cutting those beech trees down. So look here, just in 2 locations. This is a beech tree, and then this, where did it go? Can't even see it on my camera. Yeah, here. This monster. That beech tree is absolutely enormous. I mean, it has to be 120, 115 feet. This one's not too shabby either. But the amount of mast and the amount of shade provided just by these 2 beech trees, I could come through, there's another huge one right there, I could come through and take out all of these trees and still have a tremendous amount of shade. And this is the watershed that comes down in front of the workshop. So this thing on heavy rains runs like crazy. So there's a lot of moisture in here. In fact, that pig's going over there to access a little spring, get a little drink of water, play around in a little bit. There's just a lot of water that gets held here. So it's that balance of the more we open it up, the more it's going to dry out, but the more we're going to be able to get pasture grass in here. The trees that produce mast then produce a lot of protein. So it's the attempt to try to find that happy balance, and you got to go slow, because obviously if you cut down a bunch of trees and you realize, oh, I cut down too many, then obviously you can't go replace them very easily. It's going to take decades for something like this to grow back. Somebody knows the best time to hit the pool here. Didn't like me talking. We got the shade on the wallow, cool mud from the water coming out of the side of the mountain here at the spring. That's Stubby. That's the one that's missing his tail. He's getting his mud bath. It's a great place for a wallow, except for the fact it's right by the edge of my road. So here's a good example. This is the area that's right by the farrowing barn. It's right here. So this is the area that I've probably worked on the most. Year after year, just release a little bit more canopy to see how it opens up. And there wasn't a lot of mass producing trees here. We've got a little double trunk hickory, got a little white oak. Here's a little red oak right behind me. Here's a maple. What is this? It looks like a little hickory. Another hickory there. All of them are really small, so they're most likely not producing. There's 2 big hickories over here that produce really well. And there's some locust in here as well that I want to let grow. But you can see the amount of canopy that's opened up now, how quickly this grass has come back. The pigs, this is where they overwintered, so they pretty much had this place stripped bare when we came into spring, and so they've been off this pasture. Merida's been here the entire time, so Merida had a chance to kind of walk around and do whatever she does. But the majority, all the other pigs were over on the other pasture. I think it's been, I got to go and look at my book. I think it's been about 5 weeks. So just in 5 weeks, with the amount of rain that we've had and being springtime, this has come back like crazy. So here's a great example of what I was talking about in the other pasture, that if I would release the canopy around some of those bigger trees, how they would open up and actually could produce more mast. So you see this white oak right here, and I know the shading's kind of lousy, but if you go up, you can see the first main branch is really about right here. And at one point, you can see my stumpage, there was a lot of trees around here. So when I thinned those out, this white oak started growing branches all through here. So they're at 6 foot, 5 foot, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. And the same with the double trunk hickory. All of these new limbs are only because we released the competition around them. When those went away, when the competition went away, then these new sprouts started coming out. So all of these will now have the opportunity to produce mast. Pretty much every tree has done that. This little red maple, a whole bunch of new shoots off of it. This locust tree here, this is a decent sized locust. I can actually mill this guy. But you can see the new branches that just came off of it right here at ground level. So it provides shade. You know, locust is a nitrogen fixer, so I could chop and drop that. Or if I dropped it right now, the pigs would wail on it. Trying to sneak up on them so I don't wake them up, but they have light ears. So the reason for moving the pigs now from that pasture, of course, it was time, and we also had a little bit of a dry spell. It gave me the opportunity to go up there and do what I needed to do while it was dry. But the key point is, if you've been following our boar corral series, you know that it's soon time to move the boars up the valley, get them separated. They're going to be pitching soon, very soon. In fact, I'm pushing my luck here. But the ability to either lock some of the gilts and our production pigs in the farrowing barn is an option, because I've got gates there. I can obviously bring them down into the barn where they're used to. I've got my load chutes. I've got all my different sorting gates. So between having those opportunities to close gates, open gates, lock people in, lock people out, pigs I should say, not people, then I can separate the boars. We're going to separate our 3 boars. Right now we're going to keep 3 for this time being. We're going to maybe just do a little bit of a test this first year, but we're probably only going to go down to 2 at most. So somebody's going to lose and end up on the plate, but we'll see how that goes. Or I may sell him. We'll see. But so that's the plan. Hopefully here within the next 7 days, we're sorting and separating and moving up the valley. So we'll be sure to document that. Well, I know it's a bit of rambling. I've still got the trough to fix. I did bend my axle. I got to do some additional support for that because of the way the wheels stick out so far. It really made a lot of tension on that pivot point there where it was attached to my frame. So got to fix that, and we'll keep posting videos of pigs. All right, take care, everybody.